Now, 2 million extra Brits are due to be claiming disability benefits by 2030, with depression and anxiety now the leading reasons for these benefits being paid. Official forecasts predict that costs will rise to £48 billion a year by the end of the decade, pushing the cost to the taxpayer up by more than 50%. Experts fear that benefit spending is rapidly running out of control, which will leave future governments struggling to fund other critical public services. This comes just months after workplace absences in Britain hit a 10-year high, with stress the leading cause of long-term sickness. Indeed, disability benefits for anxiety and depression have surged up to 200-fold over the last decade, according to official figures. So tonight I'm asking, is the serious issue of mental illness being exploited by some to game the welfare system? Let me know your thoughts. Mark at gbnews.com or tweet me at gbnews. We'll bring you the results of the poll shortly. But to debate this, going head-to-head, I'm delighted to welcome entrepreneur and mentor Mike Greene and TV therapist Sally Baker. Sally, let me start with you. Do you think the system is being gamed by people pretending to have mental health illnesses?
I don't think the system is being gamed by people pretending to have mental health issues. I think there are a lot of very, very mentally unwell people out there, and there are literally no services. There are barely any services for children. We've got something like 250,000 children on waiting lists of 6 months to see a practitioner. And once you hit 18 and you're part of the adult mental health services, whatever was available for children is halved, quartered, disappears completely for adults. We are working a threadbare system.
But Sally, why is mental health such a massive issue in the 21st century when we have, order on the streets? Nobody really goes hungry in this country. In the 1930s, the early 1940s, German bombs were raining over London and we didn't have a mental health crisis. What's changed?
We had a unified country when we faced the Germany and the war. What we've got now is we're watching a masterclass of corruption and fraud from the Tory government. So if anyone is gaming the system, it's because they've watched it for 13 years, how other people can be on the make and get away with it. But I don't
Sally,
think
are you weaponising mental health to make this political and to attack the Tories?
It's political in as much that it's not funded. Mental health services are not funded. If they're funded at all, it's much more telemetric kind of services that are available for people. I mean, waiting, if you've got a child who is no longer eating or is self-harming, showing signs of anorexia or suicidal ideation, and you're waiting up to 6 months for them to have their first appointment, that is terrifying for parents.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
OK, Sally, you raise a good point. Mike Greene, your reaction to the fact that the number of people that are receiving benefits and will receive benefits due to mental health issues is skyrocketing.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it, Mark. It is skyrocketing. And, how can we say that nobody is defraudulent? All sorts of reports and studies have shown that at least 8 to 10% of the people are defrauding the benefit system. So it's definitely happening. I mean, to me, I look at the fact that, it's doubled in the last 10 years. It's going to go up by 50% in the next 10 years. But more importantly, nobody would deny or deprive genuinely ill people from the care they need and the support they need. The problem is that we're grouping and encapsulating serious disabilities in with anxiety, stress. They might be temporary issues. They're not long-term. And many of them are lifestyle affected. More than 50%, if you look at all the figures and go into the things that are labelled as disabled, from arthritis, back pain, chronic heart failure, COPD, epilepsy, and so on. Some of them are really serious issues. Many of them are affected by smoking, drinking, obesity. These are self-inflicted. At what point should people take self-responsibility for their own health, mental or physical, that is becoming a drain on the country that is not affordable? As I said, nobody wants to deprive those really in need, but it is not affordable, and it is so loose and easy for anyone to claim if they just claim some stress or anxiety these days.
Well, that's right. I mean, you don't have to prove stress or anxiety, do you, Sally? You do have to prove arthritis or a broken leg.
I think the whole idea that we've got so many people now using food banks I mean, the bedrock of sound, resilient mental health is good housing, good quality housing, a roof over your head, good nutritious food on the table, enough money to heat your house. All of these things are under pressure now. People are really struggling with the cost of living crisis, the energy crisis, what Liz trusted with mortgages. These are, the majority of benefits go to working people. And when you look at the 24 million people who are claiming some level of disability allowance or other associated benefits, 12 million of those are pensioners. So, you can tar people, but actually this is systematic now within the system.
Sally, I take, like you, take very seriously major mental health issues. If somebody wants to take their own life, we know about the worrying spectre of male suicide. And if you need treatment, you absolutely should have it. And I agree with you, it's not sufficiently funded. But I think what Mike's saying, and my concern, is how this can be manipulated by work-shy layabouts who will just say, oh, I've got stress, and they get a month off work. Or, worst case scenario, the government will be paying for them.
So many people are working on what are now called casual contracts, used to be called zero-hour contracts. Many people are terrified about losing their jobs and won't be going sick even when they feel terrible.
Unless they work in the public sector.
I don't know about the public sector. I mean, you can get some time off work. You're going to go back through, the intake process of wherever you work. But if there are people gaming the system, they are the minority. The majority of people...
How can you say that, Sally? Where's the proof? How can you say they're a minority?
The figures have been going up for mental health over the last 13 years. The services, the availability of services have been decreasing. This is a gradual growing problem.
But Sally, how are you going to fund this? Because I think we can all agree we're not able to raise taxes anymore because that kills economic growth and they're at the highest level since the war. We can't borrow any more money because the debt is £2.6 trillion. So which other department would you take this mental health investment from? Does it go off defence? Does it go off schools? Does it go off the NHS? Police?
We've got 7.8 million people on waiting lists on the NHS now for surgeries, treatments. Their mental health is hugely affected by chronic back pain, stress. You can call it stress and you think, oh, well, it's nothing. Debilitating stress where you can't get up in the morning, you can't leave the house, agoraphobia, all of those things. They're major issues for people that they're living with, and they're completely unsupported. They're not being able to access even a GP, never alone a mental health professional.
Mike, what would you say? You've run many successful businesses. If a colleague of yours, one of your employees, said, I need a month off because I've got stress, what would your reaction be?
Well, as you said, I mentor a lot of businesses, and I agree with Sally on so much about the people that are genuinely debilitated by this. But I think so many people are just exploiting the fact that I could claim stress, I could have millions in the bank, this is not means tested, and I could immediately access PIP, personal independence payments of 170 or whatever the number is at the moment about. I can access that irrespective of the money I have. Now, when it comes to business, everyone talks about the big businesses, the Unilevers, the BPs, the Tescos, but 99.2% of businesses, 5.5 million businesses in the UK, have less than 50 employees, many less than 10. They are literally disabled by so many people exploiting the ease at which they can go off work and claim benefits, rather than accepting that we need to be a bit tougher in the process that defines what is disability and who should qualify, and a means testing to say, should they get it?
Okay.
We can't just keep throwing money out. It's another £20 billion on where it was 10 years ago. It's predicted to grow by 17 billion more pounds a year in the next 7 years. We're going to get to a point eventually at this rate where more people will be taking than will be contributing. However we look at the problem, it is not sustainable.
All right. OK, Mike, briefly, last word, Sally.
Mental health has always been the most underfunded of all of the NHS services. It is now on the floor. We really need to fund it properly. This is not about more disclosure, more discussion about mental health. This is about services that are required now.
Sally, a real treat to have you on the show. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll catch up again soon. Sally Baker is a TV therapist and good friend of GB News entrepreneur and mentor Mike Greene.